first game, Saturday night, Texans at the Chiefs. I'll hand over to you, Paul.
So if you look at this game of the four, the easiest assumption is that this is the easiest to pick, as in this is Mahomes. He's never not made since he became a starter. He's never not reached the AFC Championship game, which is just ridiculous. And on the other side, the Texans, as a franchise, are 0-5 in the divisional round. So we've got a franchise who have never in their history made the AFC title game. And we've got a quarterback who never in his short history has never not made the AFC title game. So that's the history side of it. But there's still a game to be played. It's not played in history. It's played in reality. And this game, the Texans, when they squared off against the Chiefs before Christmas, put up a pretty good showing early on in Kansas City. And then Tank Dell, in catching that touchdown, suffered hopefully not a career-altering injury, but he went down, and you could see CJ Stroud was visibly affected by it and was not the same player for the rest of that game, and the game got out of hand. Now, that makes me think that Houston does have a way into this game, but Tank Dell is not out there. And they've only really got the tight end, Schultz, and Nico Collins, and some other like lesser receivers as threats, because they're not going to run on this Kansas City D-line. So this game is, to me, can CJ Stroud avoid the massive clutches of Chris Jones for long enough to make plays? Because, like I said last week with the Texans, the weakness of their O-line is right up the middle, where a certain Chris Jones occupies a large amount of space, and he'll be coming all day. They're rested, and not only are they rested, but they're the playoff Kansas City Chiefs, and they kind of dialed it up a little bit towards the end of the regular season. And you saw that, like, I know Pittsburgh were kind of falling off a cliff, but they absolutely handled the Steelers in that game. And this is playoff Kansas City. And Mahomes, I heard this, he's something like 40 touchdowns against 8 picks or something.
46-8.
46 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in the playoffs. In the regular season this year and last year, he was a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. No, not in the playoffs. This is playoff Mahomes. It should be the other way around. He should shrink in the playoffs because the competition's tougher, but Mahomes seems to go the other way. And Kansas City now have, Hopkins, and they have Hollywood Brown, and they have Worthy, and all of these guys are now creating space in the middle underneath for Kelsey, and they've got the running game, and they've got playoff Mahomes. I know it's the way I'm talking about this game, it sounds like it's going to be a blowout, but I wouldn't back Kansas City to cover the spread just because they could be winning by the 8 late on in the game, and then they drive the ball down for 7-8 minutes, kill the clock, and kneel it out. So, or Houston could get a backdoor cover. They're down 14, score a touchdown, down 7, and then Kansas City just run out the clock, because they can do that because we saw it in the regular season. They're so efficient with these short, quick hitting little plays, 4 or 5 yards, just like Brady and the Patriots used to do years ago, just kill you with 1,000 little cuts. And Yeah, I don't. Another piece of bad news for the Texans. Dome team, or well, yeah, it's kind of a dome, but warm weather team going into Kansas in January is going to be cold. It's going to be loud. Stroud might have communication issues getting the play call in, and yeah, it's for me. It's not a case of who wins this game. It's by how many, and just because of Kansas and that they might just settle for a 6, 7, 8 point win. I wouldn't cover the spread, but Kansas City wins this game and advance to Mahomes' 7th straight AFC title game. And only one of them has been on the road. And he's only lost to two quarterbacks in the AFC title game. Tom Brady, future Hall of Famer, and Joe Burrow, future Hall of Famer. I like CJ Stroud. I think it's a very, very tall order, and I don't see it happening.
Very, very interesting. There's a few points I want to touch on that you raised. Mahomes is, well, the Kansas City Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era, they are 15-3 in the playoffs. As you touched on, Mahomes is 46-8 touchdown to interception ratio. And in the divisional round, he is 6-0, Michael Jordan-esque. In those 6 games, he's thrown 0 interceptions, Joe Montana-esque. And of those 6 games, like you said, he's been to every AFC championship possible as starter. And the Texans have not been to an AFC championship. And one of the reasons why, if we take a trip down memory lane, is because of the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. They were up 24-zip in Kansas City, and the Chiefs came back and were leading by halftime. By halftime.
What was
this
the
is what you're dealing with.
Score in that game? They were up 24-0. What was the final?
It was out of control. They won by like 20 plus.
51-31. So after the 24-0 start that they gave them, they outscored them 51-7.
That is ludicrous. But this is what you're dealing with the Chiefs. Now, for the Texans, I started to get concerned about my man CJ Stroud throughout this season. I'm not going to lie. But last week showed me this guy is still him. He's still got it. That play where the muffed snap, the ball bounced behind him, it bounced pretty kindly for him. But that play just kind of changed the game. That was a spark, and CJ Stroud played pretty well from that point on. Up until then, it had looked like kind of CJ Stroud with no confidence, and he just got a bit of a spark from that. But the Chiefs are not the Chargers. They've had like 3 weeks. The starters have had 3 weeks rest here.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, Paul, it's going to be cold. It's going to be loud. See, you said that Chris Jones, how do you stop him up the middle? Not with this offensive line. I don't know how they do that. And Chris Jones he always delivers in clutch moments. Now, this game might not require one of those, but I'm telling you, in this run, this Chiefs run in the search for history, a three-peat, Chris Jones is going to come up in a big moment in the next few weeks. Mark my words, he will. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the Texans can cover the spread, if I'm honest. I guess with the Chiefs not having played for 3 weeks, there could be an element of rust here, just to get themselves going. They might be a bit timid in this game just to, reignite themselves. But there's no way I'm backing against the playoff Chiefs, against playoff Mahomes. This team has been there and done it and seen everything that they need to see in these 6 years, to be honest. They are more than primed with all of the close games they've played this year to be battle tested for, any punches in the mouth that they get in this playoff run. And as you were saying, Paul, this roster, let's just go through the weapons that Mahomes has got. DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Worthy, Noah Gray, Kelsey. He loves Justin Watson. You got the 3 running backs. You've got Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, who's going to be their pass catching back. The only question mark is really on the offensive line. Can Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter take over the game? Because they're going to need to. But even if they get to Mahomes will get the ball out quickly. And I'm just really struggling with the Texans in this game. It is the Seattle scheme defensively, a scheme that the Chiefs know very, very well. DeMeco Ryans has his own twist on it. He does play a lot of man-to-man. I mean, we've seen in the biggest of games, NFC Championship, 49ers versus the Rams, he manned up Cooper Kupp all night, kind of lived by the sword, died by the sword on that one. I'm not sure if there's a receiver, maybe it's Worthy, that can really take advantage of that, but their corners are pretty good, Stingley and Lassiter. So I think the Texans need their defense to turn up in this one. But ultimately, I'm just not going to back against the Chiefs. You can say what you want about their regular season. I actually think it's been a good regular season, despite the stats and the optics of the performances and Mahomes' interceptions. As I kept saying throughout the year, those interceptions were happening mainly in the first half. Maybe there were a few in the third quarter. But when the game was on the line, I didn't see any interceptions in the fourth quarter. I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game. And I'm going to say that they cover it. I don't see blowout, but I could see them just covering that 8.5 point spread. So Chiefs take one step closer to history.